On this video, I'm going to show you 5 easy and affordable upgrades for the Jeep Gladiator. All right, let's get to it. If you are tired of having to constantly turn off the auto stop start feature or need to recalibrate your speedometer now that you're running a larger set of tires, this first mod will do that and more, way more in fact. It's called the Tazer JL Mini and it comes from Z Automotive. It's a plug-in module that allows you an amazing amount of control over your Jeep's computer system. For Rubicon owners, it gives you full control over your sway bar disconnect and your lockers, so you can use all of those features anytime you want. It also allows you to completely turn off all of the traction control nannies, which is an absolute blast off-road. No matter if you are adding on LED headlights, changing tire pressure settings, or inputting a new differential gear size, this module will allow you to easily modify all those parameters without having to go and have a very costly and no doubt headache-filled trip to the dealership. This module retails for around $330 and is well worth the investment. To learn more about this module and how it works, be sure to click the link on the screen to watch my full video install and review. The next upgrade is a good option for those looking for a cost-effective bed rack. It comes from AA Products. You can now get the APX 2503 rack with either a 64-inch wide crossbar setup or a 79-inch wide crossbar setup. At the time I purchased mine, only the 79-inch wide version was offered, so I trimmed my bars down to better fit my Gladiator's bed. Now the 64-inch is probably going to be the better way to go if you're just looking for something turnkey. However, if you want to make a custom setup, let's say put a mountain bike rack on one side and still have room for your rooftop tent, or if you just want to carry more stuff, the wider bar setup is easy to cut down. The bars are made of aluminum and the cap ends are removable, so it's not that big of a deal. The kit has a 300-pound on-road rating and a 180-pound off-road rating. The only thing that I will say that's not positive about this kit is that the pads will depress the plastic bed caps, which can be an issue if you have an over-the-rail style bed cover that you use in between using this. Overall, for less than $300, it's a pretty inexpensive way to get a nice low-profile crossbar setup for the back of your Jeep. Speaking of beds, the next upgrade is one you might not think you need, but I will tell you it really comes in handy, and that is a bed mat. This one comes from DeeZee and is a little over $100. It's an exact fit for the Gladiator and is a thick rubber liner that will serve you well. It's not only going to keep your floor protected, so if you don't have that factory bed liner, you're going to be able to protect that paint, but it's going to keep your gear from sliding around. Now, if you are one that likes to document your adventures, this next upgrade is a good one for you. It gives you not only a place to mount your GoPro, but securely latch your cell phone in. It comes from Bulletproof Mounting Solution and is the company's dual mount. It bolts directly to your dash using existing hardware and double-sided 3M tape. While the company also sends additional mounting screws, I haven't found them to be necessary. For a little less than 90 bucks, it's a great way to capture your adventure and keep your cell phone safely in a line of view. Our last upgrade is for those who really want to get rid of that nose down rake or want to run a large tire without forking over for an expensive or complex suspension system. This is a TeraFlex 1.5-inch leveling kit. It comes with a stackable front spacer that gives you the ability to just run the 1-inch spacer alone or with the 1/2-inch spacer. While there's no shock extensions, there is a 1-inch bump stop landing pad for the front axle that's going to give you the ability to run a larger tire. How much larger will depend on the Gladiator model and tire and wheel combination. More on that in just a second. I prefer to run this setup without the added 1/2-inch at the top. I feel it keeps the front looking a little bit more level, but when you put gear in the back, it doesn't go nose high. This setup retails for around $100, and even though it's a suspension upgrade, I promise you, if you can do brake pads, you can install this leveling kit. There's not much to it. For those curious, the Jeep that you see configured here is a Rubicon model, and it's running a 37 by 1250 R17 Nitto Trail Grappler on a 17-inch AEV Bora dual sport wheel. This wheel has 5.72 inches of back spacing, which keeps it nice and tucked under the flare of the Jeep. Just using the 1-inch front spacer and 1-inch bump stop, I was able to run this true to size 37 with very minimal rubbing. So if you're looking for the absolute least amount of lift that you can run a 37 that's true to size, I have found this works on a Rubicon Gladiator very well. It's worth noting that I've also tested a very similar setup on a 2020 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon with a 20x9 motive wheel with 5 inches of back spacing and 0 offset. The big difference here is the tire was a 37 by 1350 R20 Nitto Recon Grappler AT. So this is a much wider tire with a back spacing that definitely pushed the wheel out further away than the AEV wheel. What I found with that is that it did rub on the plastic flare a bit more, but it was able to clear the factory front bumper, which I thought was kind of surprising. Now, the big difference between these two setups, the front suspension was the same on the Gator Gladiator in that it had the 1-inch front spacer with the 1-inch bump stop. The rear was different, however, because it did have a 3/4 inch Daystar rear spacer, but the factory bump stop in the back was still in the same location. So the tire was still cycling the same amount up, it just had a little bit more lift. Now, Nittos tend to run very true to size, so given how large these tires are, I would definitely feel confident in saying if you want to run a 37 with 1 inch of lift, it'll absolutely work, but wheel back spacing is going to be critical. Another thing to note here, neither of these tires were able to fit in the factory spare location. You have about 36.5 inches to squeeze a tire in there, given these things are both very true to size. I did not have good luck being able to fit either in the stock location. Well, if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys on the trail. Take care.